How's it going, everyone? Got a lot of PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 game updates to go over. We got an update on Ryuga Kotoku Studio, the guys behind Yakuza, as well as Judgment, and what they've got in the works. Saints Row, the 2022 title, has been delayed from its February 25th release date, and it's got a pretty deep delay, so we'll talk about that, probably for the best given how packed February is. We'll talk that at the end of this video. But first of all, Yakuza Studio spoke a little bit to the latest issue of Weekly Famitsu magazine, and it's an interview with Ryuga Gotoku Studio director Masayoshi Yokoyama, who discussed the studio's recent restructures, and there's a lot of information that did drop, so let's talk about it. Noting it's very normal for a company to change up the structure of its staff, I'm really quite happy to be in an environment where there's a need to make a big announcement out of something so ordinary. Over the past 10 years, Ryuga Gotoku Studio has grown to 300 staff. Toshihiro Nagoshi, Daisuke Saito, and I have been the top 3 for quite some time, but changes are unlikely to occur in this sort of setup without shaking things up. In that sense, I like the structural shift. It's a sign of change. Here's the big information. Yakuza 8, the title is tentative at this point, will be a sequel set several years after the story of Yakuza Like a Dragon. When it launches, it'll be an Ichiban Kasuga story, and Ichiban Kasuga is, of course, the main character. Also, he did note the Judgment series is also very important to us. We'll actively challenge ourselves to create new titles, not only for Judgment as circumstances permit. Unannounced titles outside of both series, Yakuza and Judgment, are also in the works. So, circumstances permitting, obviously there was some worry that Judgment wouldn't be continued after Lost Judgment because there were some things that did need to get worked out as far as the actor and things of that nature. Hopefully they can get all that stuff remedied because Lost Judgment was great, Judgment was a great game, Yakuza persisting as a franchise, and Judgment kind of having some of the classic Yakuza gameplay, I think would be very, very good. And if then they can establish a third IP on top of that, well, then this studio is just rolling. I feel like Yakuza as a franchise, Judgment as a franchise, they are two, I wouldn't say top tier franchise in terms of commercial success or anything like that, but Yakuza, for what it is now, comparatively speaking to what it was in the West a few years ago, it has grown exponentially, and Judgment has come out like gangbusters as well. I think the game having English voiceovers has done that game a lot of justice, and that franchise a lot of justice. Do I think that those games will ever sell, multiple millions and millions of copies? Maybe not over here in the West, but I do think they can be two very compelling franchises, and two franchises that can continue to be a mainstay over here for years to come, as long as they get those issues ironed out with the Judgment issues. And if they can establish another IP, that would be very good for them. So we'll see how that turns out. But looks like, from a studio standpoint, promising things ahead for them. Okay, moving on from that, we know that Saints Row is getting a bit of a reboot by publisher Deep Silver and developer Volition. However, they have announced a very significant delay for Saints Row from its previously planned February 25th, 2022 release date to August 23rd. Now, let me say this up front. I think this delay is very good for this game from the standpoint of, look, February's packed, Elden Ring is out right around that time. I think it's out the same day. That's just no mas for a lot of people. Like, Elden Ring is gonna be the story of the gaming news cycle when we get to that point. However, I do always have this, I don't know, reaction whenever a game gets delayed by this substantial of a time period. I think it's always a little bit lame when a game is delayed longer than the window between the announcement of the delay and the original release date. So we're almost at the end of November, we're getting closer to the end of November, and this game was supposed to come out at the end of February, 3 months until the release of the game. Well, now the game has been delayed by 6 months until August 23rd. I just think in those cases, wouldn't it have been possible to announce the delay a little bit earlier, given that it's such a significant delay? I feel like you could come to the conclusion that, hey, this game is gonna need to be delayed. But I'm not a game developer. Those things go over my head a little bit, but that's kind of the rationale that I've been following by with game delays. Look, it's very easy to say, would you rather the game to come out broken, or would you rather it to come out later and be at a suitable state? Yeah, I agree with you on that, but I just think for a lot of the times when these delays are so significant, when there are, sometimes 7-8 month delays that are being announced 2, 3, 4 months ahead of the game's release or original release, I feel like we could get these delays announced a little bit earlier, but that's just my 2 cents. Again, it's not like I'm a game developer, it's not like I'm inside that world, so I really don't know, and we all know about developer crunches, and nobody wants to deal with that, so by all means, delay your games. I just think it would be beneficial if they were announced a little bit earlier. That's all I'm saying. But in this case, like, I really don't think that many people are gonna care. Again, for this game, it is a reboot. It is a game that they need to deliver something of high quality, and if it permits, you'll want to get this game out in a period where there's not 7 billion other games coming out. Horizon, Elden Ring, Pokemon Legends Arceus at the end of January. I know that's on the Switch, but it all goes hand in hand. There's a lot of big games coming out in that first 2-month period. King of Fighters 15, there's going to be a lot of competition, and for this, I think not only for a development standpoint, getting this game at a right state where it is a high-quality product, but also let's just avoid those major titles and let's get it out at a time period where it's going to be a little bit more suitable, because that end of August period, traditionally speaking, not a big month for game release. It really picks up beginning of September, mid-September. That's when that fall season kind of starts. But the statement does note Saints Row will no longer release on the originally announced date of February 25th, 2022. Instead, it'll launch worldwide on August 23rd, 2022. Our priority is to create the best Saints Row game yet, and if we released on the original date, it wouldn't be up to the standards we've set ourselves and that you're expecting and deserve. The team just needed more time to do our vision justice. We're doing some fine-tuning, and there won't be much change in the game outside of overall quality and polish. In all honesty, we underestimated the impact COVID would have on our schedule, although everyone adapted very quickly to the working from home arrangement and continue to be incredibly productive. As mentioned, when we announce Saints Row in August, this will be the biggest and best Saints Row game ever. In order to achieve our goal, we've settled upon a generous yet essential amount of time to realize our ambition. Rest assured, there will not be any changes to the story or the characters or anything that we've lovingly imagined over the last few years and already shared with you. Again, you always got to be a little bit more lenient, because yes, while we're coming out of the other side of, you know, the pandemic and everything like that, this is a game that's been in development for a few years, so they had to persist through development while everything was going on. So you always have to be a little bit lenient. I think for the next year, 16 months, be a little bit more lenient on the developer. I didn't know that's funny coming from me, just saying like, yo, announce these delays a little bit earlier, but at the end of the day, you know, I say that, and sometimes it is more of a nuisance when it's a game like Cyberpunk, for example, when everybody was excited for that game, and it just kept getting delayed and delayed. But in the case of Saints Row, look, it's a reboot. They're trying to make this game the biggest and best Saints Row ever, as they said. There's so many games coming out in February. Honestly, in this case, it just makes more sense. It makes too much sense to delay the game. This is one that I just think would have gotten dwarfed by everything going on. And again, as a reboot, you really want to get it at the best state possible. But that's my 2 cents on it. Just wish sometimes we could hear about these delays earlier. That's all I'm saying whenever we see, you know, 6-month delays, 8-month delays, things like that. But, you know, it's not a big deal at the end of the day. But that's going to do it for me. Again, Ryuga Gotoku Studio, a lot of promising things from them. Hopefully, they get Yakuza out, you know, next year, the year after that, sometime around that, and hopefully everything goes good with Judgment and we see a brand new Judgment title come out. No, you know, hassles, nothing crazy going on, everything can be remedied, and then hopefully they deliver a new IP as well that's of high quality. And also, Saints Row Reboot delayed until August 23rd. Maybe it's a bummer to a few people, but honestly, makes too much sense to delay it at this stage of the game. That's gonna do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.